Welcome back to the channel. Today is Friday, February 14th, and of course we've got 5 college basketball best bets for you here on the channel. Yesterday, a positive day at 3-2, looking for more momentum today here on the channel. Who needs Valentine's Day, right? Who needs that? We've got college basketball, all right? So we're going to have 5 games for you today. Not the biggest slate of college basketball, but there are games that we, of course, are going to find value in. Of course, tomorrow, Saturday, huge slate of college basketball. And the way we've been doing things, obviously, if we can hit a certain like goal, we will get you 10 best bets for tomorrow instead of 5. Last week, we asked for 110 likes. We got 110 likes. Can we get 120 likes this week? If we do, again, 10 best bets for college basketball tomorrow. So again, 120 likes, and we will get you 10 best bets tomorrow. Again, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. No NBA until next Wednesday, so we've just got college basketball for you here on the channel, along with the UFC, as we've got a UFC fight night this coming Saturday with Jared Cannonier and Gregory Rodriguez in the main event. That prediction video is in the link down below, in the description down below, with of course, the link. All right, let's go into our first game. You know, guys, this is going to decide if there's a Valentine's Day dinner or not, okay? If Dartmouth can beat Columbia, then again, Valentine's Day is saved. If not, or before that, you tell the woman, sit down, we're watching Dartmouth versus Columbia at 3 o'clock or at 6 o'clock. If Dartmouth wins, dinner. If not, we're cooking a DiGiorno pizza. All right, this is going to determine how our night goes. Early spot, 3 p.m., of course, in the Pacific or on the West Coast. Dartmouth, a minus 135 favorite. We're going to play the money line. You can take the spread as well, but minus 135 for the Big Green of Dartmouth. I like it. I do. We're starting in the Ivy League, which Ivy League basketball can get weird sometimes, but in this specific spot, I don't mind it. Usually, again, you can see teams, who have been bad in Ivy League play have home spots against anybody, and unless they're playing Yale, it feels like this season, anybody can beat anybody at home this year in the Ivy League. The thing is, Columbia's going to Dartmouth for this game, so that's why I like here the Big Green. I think Dartmouth can win this basketball game. We just saw them play Columbia a couple games ago, and that one was at Columbia, and Dartmouth ended up winning it. Of course, this one is in Hanover, New Hampshire, and Dartmouth is a minus 1.5 favorite. I'm okay with it. I'm really okay with it here for the Big Green. This is a team that is 4-3 in conference play this season in the Ivy. Columbia's 1-6. Dartmouth's non-conference record wasn't great, but again, they've gotten it together so far as they have gone into conference play. They beat UPenn in their first game. I get it. Pennsylvania is not great. They lose to Princeton by 1 point. They go to Yale and lose. All right. They go to Brown and win. They go to Cornell and lose. They go to Columbia and win again on February 1st. And then last week, they went to Harvard. They played Harvard at home and won. Now, for us, again, the Ivy League's just a weird conference as a whole. Again, Ivy League athletics have always been odd. Of course, like hell, look what happened a couple years ago. I believe it was Harvard versus Yale in football. They had their game postponed because, they had their students wanting to protest, I don't know, saving the earth during a football game. I mean, that's great. Do we gotta do that during a football game though? I don't know. Regardless, I don't go to an Ivy League, so I guess I won't talk about it. Anyways, Ivy League athletics are weird. So Dartmouth, right, plays Saturday, February 1st. They play Saturday, February 8th. They play today, and they play tomorrow as well. It's really odd how they schedule things in the Ivy, but I believe the way the Ivy is, they play Friday, Saturdays, Mondays, I think. So it's weird. You get these weird spots. Like, again, Dartmouth is going to play tomorrow. It's really odd. You see back-to-backs in conference play. I believe the Ivy, if I'm not mistaken, guys, is the only conference that actually does this. But this is the first half of the back-to-back, so we don't got to worry about it. Again, we're going to have likely 10 best bets tomorrow as long as we get 120 likes. Just going to be honest, we are not going to be talking about the Dartmouth versus Cornell game tomorrow because, again, I don't know what to expect for the Big Green on a second half of a back-to-back. This is the first half of it, obviously. Columbia plays tomorrow as well. They go to Harvard. So, again, just weird spots all around here in the Ivy. But Columbia, again, a 1-6 team in the Ivy League this season. They lose to Cornell at home, they lose to Yale at home, they lose to Princeton on the road, they lose to UPenn on the road, they lose to Harvard, Dartmouth at home, and they beat Brown in their last game, beating the Brown Bears 74-72. But again, this is a 1-6 team in conference. Sure, Columbia looked better non-conference wise than Dartmouth, but they have not performed, again, in Ivy League play this season. And I don't think, again, just one victory over Brown is enough momentum for them to win this basketball game. Columbia is led by a couple scores, but the main one being Geronimo Rubio de la Rosa. De la Rosa is a guy who averages 18 points a game for the Lions. In their last game, or the last game that he played was against Pennsylvania. He's been out, though, since the UPenn game, where I believe he left midway through the game. So that's another thing, again, affecting Columbia. Their best scorer is out. So with the Rubio de la Rosa injury, they've kind of turned to a couple players to lead the charge, at least in scoring. Jared O'Keefe was the guy in the game over Brown. He scored 22 points. You're going to get O'Keefe. You're going to get Kenny Nolan, who averages 13, Avery Brown, and Zine Eddie Bedrini as well. Edneen Bedri, who can score. I don't know. Again, Columbia, it's not like they were great when De La Rosa was playing, but at the same time, they're still without their leading scorer. They're still trying to find an identity, and Dartmouth has been the better team, and we just saw them beat Columbia, again, without Columbia's best player on the road. So I think Dartmouth gets it. The Big Green are led by Ryan Cornish, who averages 17. Brandon Mitchell-Day averages 13. Connor Amundsen averages 11.5. Cade Haskins with 10. I do think the Big Green are the better squad, and on top of that, we get Dartmouth at home here in New Hampshire. So to kick off the day, we're going to take the Dartmouth Big Green at home to win the game outright. You can take the spread, but again, the play for us is Dartmouth money line, like the Big Green at minus 130, or anywhere from around minus 130 to minus 135. Give me Dartmouth at home to win against Columbia. We go into our second game of the day, and we go to Loyola Chicago, Illinois, obviously, for the Loyola Chicago Ramblers and the St. Louis Billikens. As I've watched more and more St. Louis basketball recently, I keep getting turned away from picking St. Louis. Now, we took St. Louis a couple games ago when they played St. Joseph's on the road. It didn't go our way. And then I watched them play George Mason at home. I am so unimpressed with the Billikens, man. I really am. And I'm so unimpressed with this team that doesn't have a bench. They literally play pretty much a six-man rotation, kind of, as Dylan Warlick is the one guy who comes off of their bench. But in an overtime game against George Mason, all their starters played 40-plus minutes. They have no bench. Robbie Avila, if you put a half-decent defender on him and a half-decent big on Robbie Avila, he's not great. So again, you're thinking, oh, what is Loyola Chicago going to offer? It's going to be Miles Rubin. He's a sophomore out of Chicago. Not a horrible defensive guy. I think it's to the point, though, where he should be able to give Avila a lot of trouble. I think so. I would like to think so. I watched Avila play in the St. Joseph's game. I was so unimpressed. Avila has had one good game in his last, 8 spots, and it was that game on Tuesday where they did lose by 2 in overtime to George Mason, who's actually been playing really well this year in a 10 play. But I'm unimpressed with Avila. Of course, he was a big sensation and star last year for Indiana State. And sure, numbers-wise, he's not that far off of his numbers he was posting for the Sycamores last season. But just watching him recently, and again, I know he had a good game against George Mason, but it was really that St. Joseph's game where I was so turned away from potentially, backing these Billikens again. I think Avila, honestly, has kind of been figured out. So we are putting a lot of trust in the Ramblers center here, Miles Rubin, to find a way to shut Avila down. But I don't think it's that, tough of a game plan at this point in time. I think Miles Rubin should be okay here for Loyola Chicago. But again, we're looking at the Billikens. This is a team that has no bench. They are a 5-man squad. It is just their entire starting lineup, and it's easy to break down their starting lineup, right? Gibson Jimerson is their best scorer. He got injured a couple games ago against St. Joseph's. I don't know if he's 100% because he did play still 45 minutes against George Mason. Guys, St. Louis is like the college basketball equivalent to the New York Knicks. But again, at least regular season college basketball means a lot more than NBA regular season basketball, but that's kind of how it feels like, right? Like St. Louis, they only play their starters, right? Gibson Jimerson got hurt in the St. Joseph's game. This, same game where, of course, you're watching a St. Joseph's game at St. Joseph's, and you got to watch their Hawk mascot flap his wings the entire game. They don't let the mascot stop. He just keeps going. Anyways, Gibson Jimerson gets hurt in that game. He leaves, I think it was early in the second half, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been end of the first half. Regardless, Jimerson's out for the rest of that game. He comes back. He plays the George Mason game, plays 45 minutes, goes 2 for 11 from the three-point line, 3 for 14 from the field, 9 points. Isaiah Swope is not a horrible scorer. He scored 22 in the game against George Mason. And again, there's Avila. And then you got Kobe Johnson in the starting lineup, and you got Kalu Anya as well. Those guys are all right. The one guy they kind of play off the bench is Dylan Warlick. Warlick came into the game against George Mason, played 8 minutes, scored 0 points. Didn't even take a shot. Right, the only stat line he posted was 1 rebound and 1 block. They are just a 5-man team. Really, that's what St. Louis is. And I think, again, as we start to head down the final stretch of the season, like I think it's going to end up hurting the New York Knicks down the line, I think it's only going to keep on hurting St. Louis. Loyola Chicago, this team fell off, right? They were 8-0 at one point. I get it, that was non-conference play, but they really fell off. They went to Hawaii for that invitational tourney over Christmas. They get swept there. They lose to Oakland, Charleston, Murray State. They come back to A-10 play, lose their first game against VCU, bounce back with a road win at LaSalle. Now they're 6-5, coming off winning 3 of 4. A home win against St. Joseph's, a home win against the Bonnies of St. Bonaventure, a loss on the road at Duquesne, and then an overtime victory on Tuesday at Richmond, Virginia. Good win. I think Loyola Chicago is the all-around better built team. They don't have one guy like Jimerson or hell Avila to that same extent who can just score 25 plus in a night. Again, Loyola Chicago, there are guys who are capable of it, but you're not relying on these guys to get it done. We rely on the defense at Loyola Chicago. I think they're a better defensive squad than St. Louis. And again, the overall team effort. We're looking at Des Watson. We're looking at Sheldon Edwards. We're looking at, again, Miles Rubin, who we talked about earlier. I think Loyola Chicago is the all-around better basketball team. I'm not sold on Avila. I don't know if Jimerson's at 100%. Again, considering the way he shot the ball in the last game and he still played 45 minutes, I'm not overly impressed with the Billikens. And again, the game is in Chicago. So I like Loyola Chicago. Give me the Ramblers at home to win the basketball game. The spread is 2.5. We'll take them to cover that as well. -2.5, -145. We like the Loyola Chicago Ramblers to win at home and cover against the St. Louis Billikens. We go on to our third game of the video, and we move to a matchup between the Green Bay Phoenix and the Northern Kentucky Norse. I feel like Green Bay is just that bad. We have to take Northern Kentucky -6.5. It's not like the Norse are all that great. We talk about the Horizon League quite a bit. It's not like the Norse are all that great. Trust me, we've watched quite a bit of Northern Kentucky basketball this season. They have won 2 of 3 going into this game. They beat the team that is leading currently the Horizon League in the Cleveland State Vikings 2 games ago. They beat them at home in Highland Heights. Northern Kentucky wins the game by 10 points. Prior to that, they went to Oakland, Michigan and beat Oakland. Their last game, though, a home spot against Robert Morris, and losing that game. I get it, Robert Morris right now seems like maybe the second best team in the conference, only behind Cleveland State, but Northern Kentucky goes from beating the best team in the conference in Cleveland State to losing to Robert Morris. Again, a somewhat competitive game, though, against Robert Morris, only losing it by 5 points. Now they look to bounce back on the road in Green Bay, Wisconsin, against the absolute worst team in the Horizon League and one of the worst teams in college basketball as a whole. Let's just be honest. That's where Green Bay is. 0-14 in Horizon League play, 2-23 this season, with their only victories being over West Illinois, a win over the Leathernecks on the road, and a win over SIUE. Other than that, they are 0-14. They have losses to teams like Evansville and Michigan Tech, a D2 school, and everybody else in the Horizon League. They have not won a game. So again, this doesn't feel like a matter of if Northern Kentucky's going to win it or not, obviously. I mean, hell, look at the odds, right? The Norse are a -300 favorite and Green Bay's a +250 dog. This is a matter of if Northern Kentucky can go on the road and cover 6.5. I think they should be able to do it easily. Why? Look at the games Green Bay has been playing. Last game, 15-point loss on the road at Purdue Fort Wayne. A 10-point loss on the road to Detroit Mercy. A 14-point loss at Oakland. A 15-point loss at Cleveland State. Sure, they've been away from home for a while. The last game that Green Bay got to play at home was January 22nd against IU Indianapolis. Oh, they lost the game by 9 points. Last time they covered this line was January 19th against Youngstown State. They only lost the game by 4. Robert Morris, they lose the game by 22. Milwaukee, they lose the game by 21. Northern Kentucky, the first time around in Highland Heights, the Norse beat them by 18. The Wright State game, they lose by 23. The Purdue Fort Wayne game, they lose by 16. My math was wrong, 16. They have only covered this line once. They are 1-13? Oh, we've missed some of their early Horizon League games. I'll just say this quickly. They didn't cover this line in their first 3 Horizon League games either. They are 1-13 against this line this season. So this is almost the point of like, it's disrespectful to Northern Kentucky that this is even the line. I mean, you better go in here and take care of business. Detroit Mercy's been able to take care of business. These are the teams worse than Northern Kentucky in the Horizon League. Clearly worse. Detroit Mercy, IU Indianapolis. Both of those teams have finished the job, won obviously against Green Bay, and covered the line as well. We just need Northern Kentucky to do the same exact thing. Northern Kentucky is actually kind of hot right now. I swear, that game against Cleveland State, I was so impressed by Northern Kentucky. We had Cleveland State, full transparency. But I said it right after that game ended the day after on the channel, and again, I'll say it again. Northern Kentucky in the second half against Cleveland State could not miss. They scored 50 points in that second half. Again, that can happen easily in a lot of games for some teams, but it was so different than what I've seen all year long out the North. And sure, they lose to Robert Morris, but sure, that's the second best team in the conference. They lose it by 5 points. RMU just had a big second half, whatever. Northern Kentucky wasn't on the right side of things in that one. That's okay. Northern Kentucky has an all-around decent scoring squad, as we've been seeing recently, with Trey Robinson, with Josh Dilling, with Sam Vinson. I think we're fine here with the Norse. The Phoenix are so pathetic. They can't score. They give up so many points, but again, their main problem is they can't score the rock. They just can't. They are such a bad scoring team, and they've been without their leading scorer and their best player in their senior guard, Anthony Roy, who averages 26 points a game. He's been out since December. And you take him away, and now Marcus Hall is your leading guy who averages 12.5 points a game. You get Yonatan Levy, their freshman out of Israel, averages 10 points a game. Jeremiah Johnson averages 9. It's not that great of a team. Again, they've been without Anthony Roy all year long. They rely on Marcus Hall to lead them in scoring. All around, guys, it's not a good Green Bay team. They've already fired their coach this season after he said he doesn't know why they're playing teams like Michigan Tech. Prior to the Michigan Tech game, obviously they ended up losing that game at home to a D2 squad. So again, everything's just gone downhill for Green Bay. I get it. They're coming back home for the first time in a while, but they are just coming back home to get bludgeoned. Give me the Northern Kentucky Norse on the road to go up to Wisconsin and take care of business. Northern Kentucky -6.5 up in Green Bay. We go to our fourth game of the video, and now we finish the day with some big college basketball. Let's go to Assembly Hall, Bloomington, California. The UCLA Bruins go on the road to Indiana. UCLA is going to beat the ever-living shit out of this team. They are. I'm sorry. As a former Indiana University student, I'm telling you, UCLA is going on the road and whooping this team. They are. They're going to put a beat down on Indiana. I don't care they're coming off a loss. They didn't look great against Illinois. UCLA is bouncing back here. Guys, Mike Woodson is not winning back-to-back big games. It's not happening. Indiana picks up their biggest win of the season. They go to East Lansing. They beat Michigan State. Crazy stuff. Didn't expect it. Indiana's not winning back-to-back games. They're not. They're not going to capitalize off this. If I've learned anything about Mike Woodson Indiana basketball, is that they're not going to rise to the occasion after beating a team like MSU. They're not going to. They go on the road and win. I mean, again, I thought they were going to get killed. We didn't bet that game, obviously, but I was watching the game. I'm like, all right, this is a different team. They're not going to do it in back-to-back spots. They're not. Indiana has an outside chance. It's really not that outside of a chance anymore. They have a chance to still make the tournament, obviously. I mean, they just need to piece together a couple wins. I mean, I think the only games that they can probably win are, I think they can beat Penn State at home. I think they can definitely go to Seattle and beat Washington. I think we're going to get good plus money on them against Oregon when they go to Eugene. I'm serious. We'll probably take Indiana in that spot because I think Oregon's even worse than Indiana. I actually despise watching Oregon basketball. They suck. And then Indiana might beat Ohio State. You know, they might have an outside chance. I still think they can end the season on a 4-game winning streak, and potentially they go 10-10 in the Big Ten. That might get them in. I don't know. They would need a Big Ten tournament. They're not out of it yet. And that Michigan State win obviously really helps. That's a elite win. That's one of the biggest wins they can get. The thing is, again, that big losing streak in the middle of the year that they're just coming off of is killing them. They're still 6-8 in the Big Ten. Here's the thing. They're not beating UCLA. I don't care UCLA looked bad against Illinois. I do not care. They covered for us. Okay. They are going to beat Indiana. A big factor, and we always talk about it. And hell, we'll have a guy that we're going to talk about in our next game in a minute here that we talk about all the time. He plays for San Jose State. We'll get to him in a little bit. Adai Mara is the guy we talk about all the time here for UCLA. He's the difference maker for the Bruins. Now, it came out after we made the prediction for the best bet for UCLA, Illinois, that Adai Mara was sick going into that game in Urbana-Champaign. Adai Mara played 8 minutes against those Illinois Fighting Illini. That's a difference maker. I'm serious. He was sick, couldn't get a full run in that game. He was questionable going into it. He played, but he didn't play much. Adai Mara, we're not going to see him. I don't think we're going to see him on limited minutes this game against the Hoosiers. I think he's been kind of sick. I would assume he was still sick for the Penn State game as well. It just didn't come out till after. As long as this guy plays more than 8 minutes, we should be fine. We should. Now, I'm not telling you he's going to beat up Omar Ballo. I'm not going to say that. But again, the presence of a Adai Mara, being 7'3", being an interior presence, he changes the basketball game. He just does. He frees up Bilodeau more. He allows Bilodeau to play looser, I think, as well. And again, we always say it with UCLA, there's so many guys who can go off. It's an all-around really good basketball team. Whether, again, you're looking at Bilodeau to score, you're looking at Kobe Johnson to score, you're looking at Sky Clark, you're looking at Sebastian Mack, Eric Daly. I mean, all these guys, there's so much talent on this team that eventually they're going to get it clicking. And again, I know they're coming off loss against Illinois, but UCLA at this point seems like a shoo-in to be the NCAA tournament. They're playing looser ball. They know they're going to go dancing this season, and this team has continuously been playing better. Now, the Indiana Hoosiers, Malik Reneau, who's been dealing with a knee injury all season long, had a good game at East Lansing, right? He puts up 19 and 12, leads the Hoosiers to victory. Mackenzie Mbako's been playing better basketball as of late. I'll give Mbako a lot of credit. And Omar Ballo's been good. So again, Malik Reneau is that last piece of their sort of big three with Mbako, Reneau, and Ballo that has been, waiting to kind of, develop, obviously. And again, I know he's been dealing with injuries. You get Trey Galloway, who's in the starting lineup, who I'll just be honest with you. Again, Trey Galloway does nothing for this basketball team. I'm happy for the guy that he's finally moving on, hopefully getting a job after the season, but Trey Galloway's just been bad this year. I'm just going to be honest with you, right? Luke Goody hasn't been bad. He's a good three-point shooter. They don't use him enough. Anthony Leo has kind of just, hit the bench for the rest of the season, it feels like. Miles Rice is very involved. Mike Woodson, I think, forgot about Gabe Cupps, which is okay. Gabe Cupps just more of a fan favorite than anything. They're just, the thing with Indiana, they're just not as good as UCLA. I don't care if this game was on Mars. I don't care if it was in Los Angeles. I don't care if it's at Assembly Hall. It doesn't matter. The game's in Bloomington. UCLA still wins it. Indiana's not putting together back-to-back victories. They're just not. Trust me, I want to see the Hoosiers succeed. I do. But I'm just telling you they're not going to do it. This team hasn't won back-to-back games since January 5th. That's the last time they won back-to-back games. It's not happening here. It's not. Give me the UCLA Bruins to go to Bloomington, Indiana, and beat the Indiana Hoosiers. Adai Mara should be healthy, and we should be fine. Give me the Bruins to go on the road and take care of the Hoosiers. We go on to our final game of the day, and we go to San Jose, California. We've got the San Jose State Spartans hosting the Nevada Wolfpack. I'm taking San Jose State to cover. The main play here is +6.5. Okay, it's +6.5. You can take the +215. I don't mind it. I think San Jose State ultimately does win this basketball game, but personally, I like the spread better for the Spartans. I think it's an extremely winnable spot here for San Jose State. Nevada 6-7 in the Mountain West this year. San Jose State 5-9. And I know we've been picking a lot of San Jose State basketball recently. They covered the last game that we picked them against San Diego State, right? I mean, SGSU's been a lot better this season. And again, like we talk about the game changer for UCLA being Adai Mara, the game changer for the Spartans has been Latrell Davis. The sophomore out of the UK has been excellent for San Jose State. And we ultimately blamed San Jose State's loss against Boise State on the road to them not playing Latrell Davis and not starting Latrell Davis. What happens when they start him against San Diego State? The guy scores 21 points. He leads the Spartans in scoring, and he plays 35 minutes. Again, Latrell Davis, I think right now is playing like the best player for San Jose State. Josh Uche, his fellow British player, has been pretty good all season long as well. Robert Vaihola is Nikola Jokic to the most dumbed down degree ever. That's not like an insult of Vaihola, by the way, but like he hasn't been bad. But again, the difference maker is Latrell Davis. He is. When that guy can get hot, when that guy can start getting that shot down from beyond the arc, Latrell Davis is a hooper. And he is the real difference maker for me for San Jose State. Yes, Uche's good, but we expect Uche to play well. Latrell Davis, if he's on, all right, then you got a problem. Nevada has been so disappointing this season, obviously. They had the roughest start to Mountain West play that they possibly could have had, and now they find themselves at 6-7, but they are coming off 3 straight wins against UNLV, against Air Force, against Fresno State. They're kind of due for a loss, let's just be honest. Nevada, they're playing well. They're playing teams that they're expected to beat. UNLV's kind of a tough game, but they win that one. They go to Colorado Springs to beat Air Force. Air Force is not favored to beat anybody in the Mountain West this season, and they beat Fresno and Reno. Okay. Great. 3-game winning streak for them. Prior to that, they were 3-7 in the Mountain West. Losses on the road to Boise State, Utah State, New Mexico at the Pit, very close game still, and a loss to Wyoming. That's the one that stands out to me. I get it. It was their second game of Mountain West play this season, But San Jose State is a better team than Wyoming. And I get it. College basketball math doesn't work like that. But still, Nevada lost to Wyoming on the road in Laramie. San Jose State's beat Wyoming before. I'm not telling you outright to bet on San Jose State money line here. I think they win personally. Again, I personally think they win. I'm telling you the play's plus 6.5. Again, if you want to, again, figure out your units and bet on both the money line and the spread, I'm not against it. I think San Jose State has a more than good chance to win this one, though. I think they've finally managed their rotation the right way. I think Latrell Davis is playing more. I like Ujay a lot. Again, Will McClendon, I think he's kind of gone back into a, just a more of a passing role. I think McClendon was one of the leaders, obviously, of this team to start the season, being a former UCLA player. But let's just be honest, he's not one of the best guys to go to when you need a bucket for this team. I would definitely take Ujay and Davis over him, and honestly, I think about taking Donovan Yap over him when you need a big-time shot. Now, McClendon hit big shots in San Jose State's by far biggest win of the season against New Mexico. By the way, the Lobos continue to win. That team's going to be great. Can't wait for their big run in the tournament this season. But the main guys in this team that we like to score are Ujay and Davis, right? Those guys are the guys that this team's surrounded by. And then again, for Nevada, right, they're led by two players, Nick Davidson, Kobe Sanders. I mean, those are the two guys for this team. Davidson averaging 16, Sanders averaging 14. Once you get by those guys, though, the team's not great. And that's where teams have been able to exploit them in those minutes where, again, Davidson isn't on, Sanders isn't on, the rest of the team can't really rally around them. So their opponents, obviously Nevada's opponents, are able to run it up. Nevada hasn't been playing the best basketball on the road this season. They haven't. They've won 2 games on the road this year in the Mountain West. It's Fresno State in overtime. Sure, an overtime period where they outscored the Bulldogs by 11 points, but still Fresno State. And then Air Force. I'm not impressed with Nevada. Sure, again, their run at the beginning of the year in Mountain West play was just a lot of bad luck and a lot of things that just didn't go their way. Guys, we're 14 games now. This is their 14th game in Mountain West play. This luck stuff, it's all starting to even itself out. And what are they? They're still under 500 in the Mountain West. Sure, they're winning, but now again, this little run's going to come to an end. They go on the road to San Jose State, this daunting environment that is the Provident Credit Union Arena or whatnot in San Jose, California. I'm taking Josh Ujay and Latrell Davis to win this one at home for San Jose State. But again, the play here is the spread for San Jose State plus 6.5 at home for the Spartans. Again, take the money line if you want, but we like San Jose State on the spread at home here against Nevada. So folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on February 14th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba